أجمعين. Inshallah, in today's talk, we will talk about inshallah, this will be the last one within the sources of Hukm Shar'i which are not agreed upon by all the ulama. And today's discussion will be about Istihsan. Istihsan is, when it comes to literal meaning of the word Istihsan, it is a word from derived from the word hasuna, which means being good or beautiful, and it is used for example, when you're talking about something is beautiful, a figure or a person, or you are inclining towards something. This is what it used to be used for. But that's what about the literal meaning is. When it comes to the fiqh terminology, istihsan, it is not something about the beautiful or good we are discussing here. And inshallah, we will talk about from the Shar'i perspective also how the mujtahideen have come to this definition of istihsan, and why it is. We will talk about some of the examples, the types of istihsan as well, and some examples from each type, and the evidences used by the advocate of this specific source of source of the Sharia that they use as, and inshallah we'll talk about why those evidences are invalid, and this itself is invalid to use as a source of evidence, inshallah. Okay, when it comes to the juristic definition, there are multiple, when we say juristic, it means the Shari'i definition, or the fuqaha, they came up with a definition that's other than when we talk about the definition, which is linguistic. So we are going away from linguistic and coming up with the juristic definition. So those the scholars, they have variations of the definition when it comes to the istihsan. Some of them say that it is an evidence that sparks in the mind of the mujtahid, and he cannot clarify it for the lack of wording assistance to express it. That's one of the definitions. Others says that it is a deviation from which is an analogy, qiyas, necessitates to a stronger analogy of the qiyas. So you're moving from one qiyas to another qiyas, and showing that the other qiyas is stronger than the first one. And the third definition, when it comes to the juristic definition, is it is specifying a qiyas by an evidence stronger than it. So they're pretty much all similar. It's not much of a difference, but I just want to just put it out so we know. Or it is leaving one of the directions of the ijtihad which is not as comprehensive as the expressions to a stronger direction, and is particularly emergent to the first one. Fifth definition is, and some of them say it is separating the issue from its parallels for something stronger. So when we say parallel here, so when we're making an analogy or a qiyas when we're doing. And similarly, it is separating the issue from the verdict of its parallel to another verdict of a stronger indication that necessitates its separation. Okay, so this is the, and inshallah, when we go in detail, it will become hopefully more clear than that. Okay, that's kind of funny. The whole of this thing has got messed up. Okay, that's what happens when you do last minute. Okay, let me just actually take this out completely. I'll just talk directly from the, I did not pay attention that okay, so these are the, when it comes to istihsan can be divided into 4 types. One is called al-istihsan al-qiyasi, which is istihsan by qiyas. So you're jumping from one qiyas to another qiyas, and we'll talk, as a matter of fact, later in the later slides. Or al-istihsan al-darura, istihsan which is necessitated by, because of the necessity, you're moving from one qiyas to changing the rule because of necessity. Or istihsan al-sunnah, which is if the sunnah is there, then the sunnah will be preferred over the qiyas. Or istihsan al-ijma', ijma' sahaba, we're talking about if there is ijma' sahaba, then istihsan, then the qiyas will not be used. So these are the 4 types, and we'll go one by one, inshallah. And some of the fuqaha actually, they drop the last 2, which is istihsan al-sunnah. If the sunnah is there, or istihsan al-ijma', they only take that, they say that the istihsan is just divided into 2 categories, which is istihsan al-darura, which is istihsan by necessity, or and al-istihsan al-qiyasi, which is istihsan by qiyas. So just to make it, I think it's easier because when I'm just talking, it becomes a little bit difficult. So what I'm saying is this. So some of the fuqaha, they say it can be divided into these four categories, and others, they actually drop these two completely, and they say there's only two types, which is istihsan by qiyas and istihsan by necessity. Okay, now moving on to what is istihsan by qiyas. Istihsan by qiyas, or al-istihsan al-qiyasi, it means switching from a ruling of a qiyas. So we talked about qiyas already in the past. So you're switching from a ruling of qiyas to another ruling by qiyas due to a stronger reason. So just a quick review what the qiyas was. Qiyas is if there is a hukm exists with an illah, and the illah means the reasoning is given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through Quran and Sunnah about the existence of the hukm. Then based on that illah, based on that reasoning, that hukm can be expanded to similar things as well. If the similar illah exists in different situations, then you can apply there as well. Now, when it comes to this istihsan by qiyas, which is also referred as analogical istihsan, according to them, is to deviate from a clear verdict of the qiyas to a different verdict. So they say that it is a different qiyas, more accurate and more concealed than the first one, but it is of a stronger proof, more of the point, and more appropriate inference, and they call it the al-qiyas al-khafi, which is here the qiyas is hidden, and they're saying that we are using there's some hidden meaning. There's an analogy which is hidden and nobody can see. We are using that basically to come up with a better understanding, and this is where itself is the problem lies actually in this istihsan by qiyas, because when it comes to this illah which is not mentioned in the text, so we're talking about coming from the mind here, it can only, the illah, the reasoning behind the hukm can only come through the nas from the text of the Quran and the Sunnah. It does not come from the mind. And if somebody comes with a mind and then the mind comes up with a better one, and then he goes on, then we are talking about that we know the ruling of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has passed on. We know the why he revealed, why we don't have any information if he did not provide any information to us. Okay, so the example of that one is considered as that. They say that, imagine, for example, there's a person named Ahmad and Muhammad. They equally own a car. So they have, let's say, a partnership in a car, and they sell their car to a friend named Ali for $1,000. Now, Ali pays Muhammad. So remember that there are, these are the two people, Ahmad and Muhammad. They are the owner of the car, and now they sell the car to Ali. Now, Ali actually pays $400 to Muhammad. Okay, now Muhammad and obviously Muhammad could pay Ahmad's, so he can pay his share. Now, while Muhammad has the hold of that money of $400 that he got from Ali, that money he loses somehow, whether it's stolen or he lost it. He did not steal it; he just lost it through whatever means. Now, from the ruling of the qiyas, which is that when there are two partners and they have a company or they own something together, and now they are, both of them will be at they will have the similar loss according to the partnership. In this case, we are saying, let's say there are 50-50 partners, that in this case, if they lose $400, then it's a loss of the sharika, loss of the company or the partnership that exists between Ahmad and Muhammad. Hence, the loss should apply to Ahmad and Muhammad both equally. But the ruling from Istihsan says, now this is what Istihsan by Qiyas does. It says that Muhammad should incur the loss only. The reason is that, and he says Ahmad should not, because see, there are two partners. Remember, Muhammad is the one who got that $400 from Ali, and they're saying no, Ahmad should not have any loss because he, first of all, he never got the possession, he never hold of it. But this is not the reason they say. The reason they say is that Muhammad had the option when he was taking the money from Ali, which was $400 he's taking. He could have said, I will take my $200 and you should pay Ahmad by yourself the $200 that belongs to him. Since he did not use this privilege, now Muhammad had that money, so hence he is the one who is held accountable for that. Now look, for the part about both share the equal loss, that is from the qiyas. And when we say qiyas, we have to understand that qiyas is coming from the text of the Quran and the Sunnah's reasoning given in the ahkam of the Quran and Sunnah, and then we deduct it and apply on different realities, because the illah exists in those different realities as well. So it is coming from a reasoning from the Quran and Sunnah. Now, when we come up with our own reasoning like that, now we are putting the mind in front of the text. Hence, it is invalid way of doing the istihsan in this case. So this kind of istihsan by qiyas cannot be acceptable based on that. But this is one of the types of istihsan that has been used. Now, the other istihsan is by necessity, or istihsan al-darura. Now, what does it mean by that? It is a shifting to another qiyas due to necessity. What it means by necessity, the darura is a term which means linguistically means is a necessity. It is when the verdict originated from the qiyas is violated due to a binding necessity, meaning you come up with a ruling, whatever the ruling was, through the qiyas, and now when you are trying to apply that qiyas, there are some losses that you are seeing, and to remove those losses that you are seeing, you come up with another qiyas, or to make sure that we can remove that difficulty or hardship that is caused by the previous qiyas. And hence the second one that can remove that difficulty or that hardship, then that's the second one, because out of darura, out of necessity, can be taken. Now the problem here is, again, what we're doing here is we are making the mind is the one that is going to decide what is beneficial for me, or what is harmful for me, or what is good and what is bad for me. Rather, it is up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is the one who has given us the commands. We don't go by whether the hukm of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving me personally benefit, meaning I can perceive the benefit right now. So this is not the way the ahkam work, because there are things they can be beneficial for us at certain time, or we find beneficial for us, but they may be bad for us from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They're unacceptable by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and vice versa, meaning there's they might be they look bad to us, meaning we are feeling that we are losing something out of an action that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordained on us. So hence, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually knows what is the benefit for me, and for us, our benefit has to be connected to the benefit which is the Jannah, the action that can make me enter into Jannah, and the action that can make me avoid the hellfire. That is the harm that we want to remove, and the benefit that we want to achieve is what can make Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala happy, that can please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that can make us inshallah enter into Jannah. It's not the benefit that I personally can perceive, because as human beings, we not necessarily have the knowledge about everything. As a matter of fact, we don't have knowledge about everything, but an action that we're undertaking, we do not have the comprehensive knowledge. We cannot really tell if that action is going to be beneficial or not for me. This is part of our life. Many times in our lives, we do things in our lives that we hope or we see all the benefits that we can achieve out of the action, but when the action ends, we realize that actually it was something that was harmful for us. And similarly, we are sometimes in very difficult situations, and we think like we are the whole world is falling apart, and we are losing everything in our life. But at the end result comes out to be very positive for us. And we know Allah Azza wa Jal mentions this in the Quran in different way, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala وَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that there are things that you have karahiyah, that you dislike, but perhaps they will be good for you. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala تُحِبُّ شَيْءًا وَهُوَ شَرٌ لَكُمْ. And there are things that you love, but they are good, but they are bad for you. وَاللَّهُ يَعْلَمُ وَأَنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. And Allah knows and you don't. So when we look at this idea of darura or necessity or this benefit from that perspective, then we really realize that all the benefit, whatever benefit we're looking for, the benefit has to be aligned with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordained on us. So in the qiyas we see that analogy that we have ended up with, which is based on the illah, which is the reason from the hukm, which is from the Quran and Sunnah, and we come up with we conclude a ruling from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for an action, that we have to follow that action, follow that command, whether we see benefit in it or whether we see harm in it. It doesn't really matter. Okay, so this is why we cannot use this one as well. An example of that is, for example, this is a little bit of a complicated example, but the way it works is this. There are two different kinds of employees you can have. For example, if you hire a tailor, and the tailor is your employee for the month. Okay, now employee for the month, and you if he messes up your clothes, right? So is he going to be accountable for the cloth or the material that you have provided or not? That's one question. So from the qiyas, actually from the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that talks about that, if you have made somebody a damin, then he is not accountable for the thing that you have put his hand over the trust. So now, meaning he is not intentionally did not lose it. It is, for example, when a tailor is somehow something happens and he loses the material that you have given, or something bad happens to the material, he is not accountable for that. So they say if he's an employee, then he's not accountable. So they agree with the hadith for that part. But they say if he is a person, he's a regular tailor who's offering public service, and you give him the material, and he not only sews your clothes, but he also sews other people's clothes as well. So he's a public person. When you have an employee only for you, a private employee, he sews the clothes for you, and that's his job, and he's getting paid for that. And the person who is a person who's doing for others, also general employee, and you go and you ask him to sew your clothes, that tailor is different. And if he loses, in that case they say no, he is accountable and he has to pay for the damages. And the reason they say is because the one who is your employee, private employee, permanently, he's not taking any other job at that time when he is working for you. But the general employee, he can overburden himself, and hence he may destroy your stuff or do not do the good job and stuff like that. So to limit him, you want to make sure that he understands that he is accountable. So they say because of that, the necessity to make sure that your work is done properly, they say that he has to bear the loss of or any kind of a damage that's been done to the product. But again, this darura part, the necessity that you are making sure that he is not losing anything, it goes against the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Hence, this cannot be used as an evidence to remove move from one qiyas to another qiyas. Okay, the third one is called Istihsan sunnah, which is canceling the qiyas due to the contradiction caused by a hadith, meaning the hadith is contradictory to what the qiyas is. The example of another example is the Istihsan of the sunnah is the deviation from the verdict of qiyas due to a different verdict proved by the sunnah. So now what is one of the example is the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Hadith is reported by Ibn Mas'ud, and he says, "Man shahida lahu Khuzaymah aw shahida alayhi fahasbuh." I say, whoever has a Khuzaymah as his witness, it is enough for him. Now, we know that from the qiyas that for any of the actions we talk about, unless the Rasulullah sallallahu has mentioned more or less witnesses, in general, the testimony you need two witnesses for an action. Now, but in the case of Khuzaymah radiallahu an, one of the Sahaba of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, about whom, and there's a incident because of whom Rasulullah, because of what Rasulullah mentioned, that Khuzaima's witness is equivalent to 2 witnesses. So now this the Sahabi of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he has a special he's a special case that for him Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam actually specifically said that his witness can be taken as 2. Now in this case, you're saying is, well, see, you are doing istihsan here. So you're moving to something better here, because Qiyas was saying 2 witnesses. Now we are moving to a better one, which is 1 witness can be taken as Khuzaimah. In reality, this is not called istihsan. This is a hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where there's an evidence from the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which we are using here. This is a special case defined by the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we have to oblige by that Sunnah. So it's not the istihsan, it's not moving from qiyas to a hadith. Rather, you are following the hadith directly in that case that is available. Okay, so that's about the istihsan by Sunnah. Now, when it comes to istihsan by ijma' sahaba, which is cancelling a ruling from qiyas due to contradiction caused by ijma' sahaba. Like remember, we just talked about how the hadith is the one that cancel the qiyas. Similarly, qiyas is done for the situations which are not available, which are not found in Quran, Sunnah, and ijma' sahaba, and hence because of that, in this case as well, when we talk about we moving to ijma' sahaba is actually from the Quran and Sunnah, because all the Sahaba are agreed upon something which is a well-known thing from the Quran and Sunnah, which was well-known among the Sahaba, that this is what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam have commanded for the specific issue. So this is another source of evidences in Islam that we have to follow. So now when ijma' sahaba exists about a situation and you had a qiyas for that, so obviously you have to follow the ijma' sahaba. So again, it's not a preference, or you're going to you're doing a istihsan by leaving the qiyas and moving to ijma' sahaba. Rather, you are following the ijma' sahaba, which is something that we have to follow. So what the definition says is, it is a deviation from the result of the qiyas to a different verdict on which the consensus occurred. And the example of that is istisna. Istisna is actually something which does not exist, and you ask somebody to make it for you for a specific fee that you are going to you're going to pay, but specificity of what the product is and how much you are going to pay for the product is known. Now, but we know that the product does not exist. So in general, the qiyas necessitates that something that does not exist you cannot sell. So you cannot sell something that you do not have. For example, I cannot say, okay, I'm going on hunting and I'm going to hunt, let's say, a deer, and I will sell it to you for $500. Now, I don't have possession for the deer. I cannot, and I don't even know what kind of a deer is going to be, how much weight is going to have, and on and on and on. I don't have the specificity. Yes, I know what the deer looks like, but this is not allowed because of the hadith of Rasulullah, and there's a consensus about this issue. You cannot do that, something which is you don't have in your possession. You cannot sell something which is not in your possession. So now, in this case of the istisna, which is you are making something. Now, they say that, okay, because ijma' sahaba is, as a matter of fact, actually, there's not only ijma' sahaba, there's a hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as well, because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam ordered to make a ring for him and a member for him, and those things did not exist, and any specific and a fee was paid for that. So now, because of that, first of all, there is no istihsan going on here. It is actually you're going to follow the ijma' sahaba or the qiyas, whichever the situation is. So this is not considered as istihsan. And the first two that we talked about, those istihsan cannot be followed. When we are going from one qiyas to another qiyas, or by darura, they cannot be followed because they are contradictory to the ahkam that already exist. Okay. Now, the evidences that they use, the advocators of istihsan, are This is subhanallah, all these typos. Okay. Istihsan, the evidences they use are these. They normally, they in general use the Quran, which is a kitab, sunnah, and the ijma' as the evidences from the kitab. When it comes to the kitab, from the book, from the Quran, they say that they use these following two ayat as the evidence. The first one, which is الَّذِينَ يَسْتَمِعُونَ الْقَوْلَ فَيَتَّبِعُونَ أَحْسَنَ. Those who listen to the saying and follow the best thereof. So they're using this word فَيَتَّبِعُونَ أَحْسَنَ, they follow the best thereof. So this is one ayah they use. Second ayah is, and follow the best, which is وَاتَّبِعُوا أَحْسَنَ مَا أُنزِلَ إِلَيْكُم مِّن رَبِّكُم, and follow the best of that which is sent down to you from your Lord. So both of them are for Surah Zumar. And here the evidence, for the sake of evidence, they say is that the first verse is it is in the course of praise and tribute to followers of the best saying. So they say because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is praising them, hence it is istihsan is mentioned here, that you go for something beautiful, something better. And in the second verse, it is his command to follow the best of what came down. And if the istihsan is not approved, there would not be such as. So they say this is the proof for istihsan can be used. And inshallah, after I mention these, I will go and talk about what these ayat really means, because this is not what the ayat are talking about. And the proof from the hadith they use is the hadith of Rasulullah. They say, فَمَرَاءَ الْمُسْلِمُونَ حَسَنًا فَهُوَ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ حَسَنًا. Whatever the Muslims consider good, it is good in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this hadith is compiled by Ahmad bin Hanbal. And if they say if istihsan is not approved, it would not be good in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then for the ijma', they say it is a consensus of the ummah on the istihsan of entering the public bath and drinking the water from hands of the cupbearer without estimating the staying time and quantity of water and the fee. Because the qiyas actually in general talks about, we know that for anything you're buying or from somebody, you have to know the amount and how much you're buying for and what is the product and how much is going to be given to you. All those things have to be known. And there is a ijab or qabul, which is acceptance and offerance in the buying and selling. All these things supposed to happen. But when it comes to the public bath and drinking water and taking the water from the cupbearers, without estimating the water, without estimating how much time you're going to spend and the fee, it is allowed to say this is the consensus of the ummah. Hence, istihsan is allowed. So these are the three different categories of evidences they use, and I'll go inshallah one by one from the ayat and in the hadith. Now, before I go into there, first I want to just remind about the definitions that were used. They all first of all, that is to deviate from analogy to a stronger evidence. In these definitions, the explanation of the istihsan, they meant by the stronger evidence. If they mean by that there is a stronger evidence of the text from the kitab and sunnah, then it's not istihsan, right? It's not even considered as istihsan, because you are actually looking for the better evidence that you have found from the Quran and sunnah. Hence, you have to follow the better evidence that you have found. Now, if there's evidence, stronger evidence we're talking about is the mind of the benefit, or for the benefit it considers, this is what they meant, then it is invalid. So it becomes invalid if you're looking for the benefit only, because qiyas is based on Shar'i illah. Meaning the Shar'i illah means the illah that comes from the text, from the Quran and the Sunnah. It's not coming from the mind. Hence, we cannot bring our mind in the picture and then outweigh the Shar'i illah, which is the text from the Quran and the Sunnah. Hence, that kind of istihsan is invalid. In the case where we're saying this is istihsan, we are going to a better evidence from the Quran and the Sunnah or the ijma sahaba, then this is not istihsan at all. So as a whole, istihsan by definition is invalid. Now, going to the evidences they use. Well, when the ayah says, الَّذِينَ يَسْتَمِعُونَ الْقَوْلَ فَيَتَّبِعُونَ أَحْسَنَ, those who listen to the saying and follow the best thereof. This ayah is not talking about istihsan at all, actually. There's no evidence in this ayah in it that obliges us to follow the best saying also. Following the best saying does not mean follow the istihsan here. which is in the principle, the fiqh principle meaning. But it means that if there is two sayings, one of them is good and the other is better, then you follow the better one. That's what it means here. Not mean that istihsan as a principle can be used where you are outweighing the ahkam from the shara by using the mind. So that cannot be acceptable. And we already talked about that. If there is an ayah that is giving you a better opinion, then it's not istihsan anyways, because you are following the ayah or the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay. Then the second ayah, وَاتَّبِعُوا أَحْسَنَ مَا أُنزِلَ إِلَيْكُم مِّن رَبِّكُم, and follow the best of that which is sent down to you from your Lord. Okay, now here it has no, again, it's not saying anything about istihsan again as an evidence. In addition to that, it is the best of what was sent down. It has no relation to istihsan in the fiqh principle meaning, what we discussed in the past. It is just saying that you follow the best, and what is revealed to you is the best that you're supposed to follow. This has nothing to do with throwing one qiyas and coming up with another qiyas because one is more harmful than the other or beneficial than the other. Okay, when it comes to the ayah, the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, فَمَا رَأَى الْمُسْلِمُونَ حَسَنًا فَهُوَ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ حَسَنٌ. Whatever the Muslim considered good is good in the sight of Allah. Now here, nobody took it this way, that if a Muslim understands something good that contradicts already known obligatory or the sunan or the haram or the disliked ones by Allah Azza wa Jal, then we will put them on the side and we'll go by what the Muslims have started to like it. It's not the likeness of the Muslims that determine what is the rule, what is the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, it may be used in the case of the shura, but what is the shura about? Shura is never about to take away the obligation or preferable actions of sunnah or for haram or any of the ahkam shari'ah which are mentioned there. So shura is done about the mubah things which are permissible in Islam. Shura is not for legislation. Rather, it is for some mubah thing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to us, and within those mubah, you want to advise from the people that which direction you want to go. So again, even in that shura, mubah is decided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which we have talked about when we discussed the whole concept of what is for the sunnah, makruh, mubah, and haram. And in those sections, we discussed the whole thing of when we conclude the mubah is also coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is the one who's the Shar'i, he's the one who's legislator, who decides what is permissible and what is not. Okay, so it's not the likeness and dislikeness in that case. Hasana here actually referring to something that something good that you guys are deciding within the mubah. So it's not, again, this cannot be used as the evidence for istihsan. Now, this is the last slide, inshallah. Actually, there's one more after that. So as far as the ijma' goes, the evidence which was mentioned about public bath and drinking water from the hands of cupbearer, this ijma' is not discussing anything about istihsan at all, number one. Number two thing is, here, this whole issue of public bath and drinking the water from hands of cupbearer without estimating the staying time and the quantity, actually this is proven by the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This action was done in front of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam approved of it. Hence, it becomes part of the sunnah, rather than to say even this is the consensus of the ummah about this issue of istihsan is allowed. Okay. Now the last thing. So from all that, it is very apparent that it is not, istihsan cannot be used as a Shar'i evidence. But at the same time, we should also understand that the advocate or the ones who follow the istihsan as a source of evidence, they are following shubhat al-dalil. Shubhat al-dalil means the suspected evidence is there. Hence, you look at that Shar'i word, that verdict, whatever comes out of istihsan as a Shar'i verdict, but it has a suspected evidence, meaning shubhat al-dalil. There's a shubha there. Now, I will conclude with that, with the saying of Imam Shafi'i, and that will sum up the whole thing about the istihsan. Imam Shafi'i said, he used to say that those who practice istihsan are the Shar'i, legislators. And we know the only legislator is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We do not have the right to legislate. It's only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if istihsan is allowed in this deen, then it should be allowed for any intellectual person to initiate laws for himself. And we understand laws, legislation belongs to only and only Allah Azza wa Jal. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, in al-hukmu illa lillah, hukm belongs to only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we have discussed this in quite detail before in the past, that not only that only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only one who has this right. Even the best of the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, did not have this right. So we should not think of it that we can do this. Okay, so we're gonna inshallah stop here, and if there is any questions or comments that I can answer, inshallah I'll try to address them now. We'll stop here.